because Navi arguably even less comfortable on this map. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting from that perspective solely that we're basically seeing attempted growth, I think it's fair to say, from both sides here. And the gamble for Vodafone Giants is that we can overcome our past troubles on this map more than Navi can. You know, and both sides have made a couple of changes. The fact that we are seeing that KJ come out, as the Analyst desk was discussing. We're also going into the Reyna Sky on the side of Navi, as opposed to the Reyna Jet that they've played in the past.
Already, though, they're wasting no time. The Vodafone Giants not playing slow this time around. Stark departure from their performance on Ascent. And they're able to get the game either way, but fast over to the A, getting this plant down. Fair enough, you know, it's freeze. You're generally going to see a lot more retake strategy coming in through, especially from a slower team like Navi. And they are going to start to mount their retake. They've already lost a player, though. Meadow traded off. Vodafone Giants starting to fall. They are going to trade one, but it's just going nowhere near where they want it to go. And Navi moving in. Abby last to face, but there's three. He jumps around the corner and bites off way more than he can chew. Good retake coming through from Navi.
Yep, nice start to the round. Let's not forget, of course, though, that, of course, Navi won the pistols on Ascent, too. So it's not exactly too far from what's been par for the course so far in this series. It's about what Navi are going to do after that. Okay, good. There's nothing too crazy.
Yeah, what I'm most interested in, as, I mean, they talked about on the desk as we highlighted here, Meadow moving over to the Killjoy. The guy is one of the highest value ciphers in this tournament right now. So the fact that they've moved over to that Killjoy and on Breeze, where Cypher is typically played a lot more, and a lot more sort of universally, it's a really interesting change.
It's interesting to me too as well. Also bear in mind that Vodafone have decided to go for something of a force here. SSK getting the first kill though. He's carrying the Phantom into this round.
Seems to be the meta in this matchup, the force buy into the second round, but Navi have a no part in it. They will take their leave from this one as a 4K from SSK to close it down. Really nice hold over on the A. They get for the retake on the first, but on the second, they shut the door entirely.
I'll be honest, this is really nice as well. One of the big criticisms that I had of SSK, not necessarily just him individually, but the way that Navi were playing on Ascent was the fact that because it was so slow, they weren't necessarily getting a ton of initiation out of SSK. They weren't getting real value out of many of those opening engagements. But, I mean, if SSK is going to play like this and do it so much better and actually string those kills along, which obviously as a Reyna is huge considering the utility you have, then maybe Navi can actually springboard themselves forward much more effectively than they did on Ascent.
Already up to the ultimate. Round 3 and the Empress is available. That's a pretty solid springboard, but do you want to invest it? Do you want to try and use it in a round where you know you're against a little bit of a limited buy? Hoodie, over on that Marshall, maybe a difference maker.
Scout destroyed.
We did see him on the Operator a little bit earlier on, although he didn't actually get anything on that round. Gonna peek around some of the corners.
But he tried.
He did try, and that's the important part. Again, just providing a little bit of Overwatch. There's the guiding light, but there's going to be a flash in return. This time, SSK can't find anything, though.
I mean, he certainly tried to play around that corner, but unfortunately, it might be the participation that counts, but the participation in Berlin is contingent on winning here. Both of these teams down to the wire, and Vodafone Giants one step closer to staying safe so far. Navi really want to take this one down. They're starting off with the way to do it. Already 3 kills coming in for Cloud as he rallies in from Connector, moves through the Hawks around the edge, and there's depression across the board as Navi gonna roll it on up, and it's an ace for Clouds to be able to take round number 3. The Bulldog bites back.
Who needs SSK when Cloud can just pick it all up, right? No, it's been some really, really nice defending rounds here from Navi so far. Again, we can attribute partially, I think, some of Vodafone's lack of firepower just because of the way they decided to invest in their second round and therefore couldn't have a full buy in their third. This has been a recurring theme amongst both of these teams throughout the series so far. So I feel a little bit like a broken record saying it, but it's certainly something notable because the entire momentum of Ascent was really dependent upon a lot of those, you know, economic decisions. If that's going to continue forward here, then it could certainly have a decent effect. I mean, Giants have the money now for some rifles. This should allow them to play a little bit, you know, more aggressively, I would assume.
Maybe not aggressive, but certainly more confidently in terms of taking these crossfires.
Yeah, I don't necessarily mean aggressive as in far forward. I just mean, like, assertively, maybe.
Angrily.
Ferociously. All right.
Ferociously. Viciously. They're viciously walking forwards.
Welcome to the Thesaurus with John and Geo.
Ooh. Not sure about that one. I don't spend a lot of time around the Thesaurus, I'll be honest.
I got the spike.
There's a lot of control that's been taken here by Giants. I mean, they have all of mid, and no one from Navi is holding on to A. Not that the rotation couldn't be made easily.
Revealing area.
Double scan. Gonna be sought on out. Figured that one the other day when after I said seek, and I was like, it's not alright. Said sort instead, and he's going to sort them right out. SSK trying to get a trade. Hoodie able to go 1-for-1, but Meadow gets the double-double. As Cloud is traded off yet again. 3 versus 3 now. Navi looking to try and go for the retake. We'll be able to bounce off there, look for the pressure on this post plant, but 12 seconds, 10 and counting.
10 seconds
trying
left.
to get the damage on in, and Navi now have some really strong angles. They stopped, oh, they didn't manage to stop the plant just out in time, but that's a kill either way. And now Cloud can look for more, flash out fully, and Hoodie evens it up yet again for Tino. Echoes in, and the post plant looking strong, but SSK still riding high, and it's a 4K for SSK against the rifles. And Navi keep it alive, 4-0 on Breeze.
They are looking more alive. Definitely. This does not feel quite like the same game that we saw on Ascent. And I mean, this is the thing with Breeze, just as a map anyway, you've got to be more on the ball with the aggression, with your actual firepower, because you just will be overrun if you're not. And with Ascent being, especially a much smaller map, you have the freedom to be a bit more slow and just sitting and contemplative, I would say. But Breeze, you just don't have that kind of option. But you know what? Like, Navi seem to be thriving in this kind of environment so far. I don't see them struggling that much with this situation. And
Get out of my way.
I mean, it's just a ton of kills being racked up for SSK.
Blade Storm invested already by Coutinho. Do they check SSK's position? I think they just took down the Owl Drone there. 1-for-1 so far, and it's not ideal right now for Navi to be playing in these spots. Dino able to escape from the purview of the Bolt, but not from the Seekers. In the meantime, though, Navi rally and cry. Running around the corner, the Vodafone Giants continue to frag. Goodness me. Even with these pistols, they're still pretty brutal. Hoodie, I mean, he closed out the last one with a cheeky little triple. And he wants more here. Arch might just come a cropper, going for the double face, and Hoodie gets a triple as well here. Only with the Sheriff, but he's got to lay down the law. The spike still in their possession. The cross guarded by Dinks. Maybe just waiting for some utility to go on through. The flash not going to stop it. Look at this, just keeping the line of sight going with the Phantom. And Meadow's just afraid to cross. Gets across, pretty much unscathed though. And they get the spike.
Planted.
Now it's just Dings. He's got to deal with this post plant. And
Chin
with not much information either. Not much life. Finally, Giants put a round on the board.
I mean, to be fair, I think Hoodie put a round on the board just there. 4K on the Thrifty. This guy's nutty, I think is the only way to say it.
I mean, this so far in these 5 rounds we've had, when a team wins a round, so many of the kills seem to come from, like, one person. There hasn't been much, like, sharing of the wealth.
Maybe. But they can all still bask in the spoils. 4-1 for Navi. A really good start here for their attacking side here on Breeze. Again, sorry, for their defensive side on Breeze. They're going to keep on going. Keep on trying to hold it out.
You should run.
A lot of momentum found, and they're trying to lock down the site for the attack to just zone everyone away, get all of them onto the site safely, but they've already lost Patino for the Vodafone Giants. You're not going to force the defenders away, sure, but the retakes, we've seen them from Navi. They are strong today.
I've got your trail.
But less strong. Fair enough.
Yeah. And the Seeker's going to be coming out from Vodafone Giants. Cloud shut down one of them as they try to move on in. They need to get this retake. The kill from David P from behind, but the trades are coming in. Puts it in a 2 versus 2.
Dino with a 180 skull clicker. That's going to be felt in the morning. Gets another one as well on the swivel. Picks up the Phantom, and now it's just Meadow. Trying to play for this retake, and they're not giving it away. Meadow tries to control it, but the Vodafone Giants lose control, and Dino should be able to stick this defuse. There's plenty of time left. I say plenty, less than a second, but inches are good as a mile.
I mean, Navi really have been looking decent on their retakes here, which is funny because, you know, when you go back to the game that they played against Ascend just a few days ago, on Breeze, one of the things about Navi on their defense was their retakes were actually fairly poor. They were quite reluctant to rotate. They weren't super decisive. It was really quite difficult for them to achieve that. And, you know, maybe some of that comes into how Ascend specifically were playing it, making them feel more reluctant. This is certainly an improvement based on what we saw just a couple of days ago.
Deploying drone.
And that's the name of the game, especially when you're playing on this international stage, is to be adaptable. When a lot of these teams might not have faced each other, might not have come across these playstyles before, to be adaptable, that is the most important skill you can have. And adapt Navi have to the start of Breeze, certainly on the defense. Dino spots out 2, gets the bolt in as well, and the Hunter's Fury should be a kill there. Very little way to get out of that one. Cloud covers the cross, and that's the spike dropped as well. Still a player to worry about. The spike getting planted up close. It's Dinks around the corner. Spots Meadow. Navi haven't taken a lick of damage there. Only 10 over towards SSK, but they're going to get revealed. It's going to get bolted out. And Ambi, what can you do? The answer's nothing. SSK, Lee around the corner. And the retake's good. Who gets the defuse? They're going to give it over to SSK, maybe for the half. No, they want the Viper's Pit. And Arch is going to come and claim that extra pizza slice.
Yeah, I was going to say, as if SSK actually needs any help. He only needs to get 6 pizza slices, and the remaining 5 he can get in the next round, you know? So, yeah, you know, you're very close to the Viper's Pit as well. Navi, typically way more likely to use that to actually cut off some kind of rotation. So whether that's going to be at the entrance of Cave or the entrance of B site, to disallow Giants to actually move in. Navi are way less likely to actually use it on the site, really. Just based on their previous play on this map, of which there is not much. So I think this is the thing with Navi as well, is we should be expecting this kind of fluidity in the way that they're playing, purely because this is still new ground for them. And they're still kind of figuring out where they sit with it. As it stands in this game so far, they're actually doing a pretty good job, and that's why, you know, Giants have decided it's their time to reconvene, have their discussion about what's going on here, because it's not working for them. You know, they've been able to get in and get the plant down a couple of times, but it's what happens after that. They just can't retain that control.
I asked you this before, Gio. I'm going to ask you again. You spoke a little bit about the Viper Ultimate. What sort of pizza do you think the Viper Ultimate would be?
Oh, like...
And I'm not talking... And last time you went on a tangent about trucks and barbecues. I want to know what the Viper Ultimate...
Look, Viper is green,
pizza is it?
therefore every green food. So, like, I'm talking about, like, the ones with all the peppers on, which, by the way, on a pizza, is disgusting. I mean, pepper is disgusting anyway, but, like, I'm thinking, like, lots of pepper and peas.
Now, hear me out. What about a pesto base? It's green.
No!
Oh, dear. I think Gia's going to have to take a minute for that one. Try and clean out the memory. Vodafone Giants slowed down a little bit by the Viper Orb.
you know, Giants have been coming in from this side down from cave a number of times, and I mean, I don't blame them, it's very common. But I'd like to see them change up a little bit, which is why I'm kind of happy to see them moving up through Tube. We have seen that being defended by Cloud before, but he's over by B. So that's actually giving Giants a lot of space here. They get the opening kill, and they can actually surround the site a little better.
Now Arch has to be on the swivel. Shuts the door as soon as it's open there. Oh, gets caught right in the back as well. So unfortunate. David P trying to inflate that ultimate from the sidelines, but it is going to be denied for Arch to take that position and control it. Moving on in. There's not a lot of time though. And with 4 players only left for Vodafone Giants, they have to keep it on trucking. 20 seconds left now. And they're going to keep on racking up those frags. Cloud, last player standing, and Vodafone Giants finally get a plant in. It looks like they might have found their second of the half, Gio.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it, and I think the fact that they just could take all that space around the A site virtually for free just set them up in a much better position to actually do that. Now it looks like they're trying to hunt out Cloud here. They know that that operator's still on the board, and it's gonna do a bit of devastation.
Hawk out!
Just a bit. Is there such thing as a bit of devastation?
Yeah, like 1 quantum of devastation.
Right, but isn't devastation just total destruction?
I'm out of stuff. Hawk out!
So is there such thing as a bit of devastation?
Yes.
Isn't that just a bit of, isn't it more accurately a bit of destruction?
No, a bit of devastation, John, because that's what I said.
No, I know, but I'm questioning probably
I
the very
understand what you're
being of who
questioning,
you
John,
are.
and I do not appreciate it. They caused a bit of devastation by bringing down Hoodie. Vodafone Giants still took the round, all right? With a couple of bits of devastation. You good?
I'm a little bit devastated. 2 rounds on the board now for the Vodafone Giants, and they need to convert here to try and have a little bit of a basis to move on forwards. There's the Viper ultimate that we know and love over on the B site. Going to try and lock things down, force them into an A site.
And the Pesto base is out. And you can actually see that Navi have moved back to have a bit more of a defense over towards this A. Cloud's back in that position. The Seekers are being sent out by the attackers to hunt out what they can, and with the door being open means they're gonna find Cloud pretty easily.
Cloudburst as well. I feel like they could have snuck around the corner and got a little bit further, but blocks out the vision nonetheless, and they'll be just fine. Post plant already coming through, and obviously that Viper's pit completely nullified. But Arch trying to force them over to the A, and looks like they didn't want to fight that either way. Are we going to go for this one? Sorry, is the reset going to come through? I'm not entirely sure it would do, but Vodafone Giants, they want to stop anyone sneaking away past the openings, and now 3 players stand. SSK, ever watchful. Here's the vent. We'll be able to clap back over towards David P. There's the recon bolt, and they'll know he's faded away around the corner, probably not crossing that open ground, so they can isolate his position. Excellent game awareness there to know exactly what was going on. Coutinho gets the shot through the wall, and they're even spraying down towards Connector. Arch takes a tickle, 2 players survive.
You know what that felt like? It was like they were slowly encroaching onto the A side, and as soon as Dino went down, they turned and ran away. And it was like that game you play as a kid where like you're in a little group with your friends and someone has to knock on someone's door and you all run away. And you just sacrifice one of them because inevitably someone's going to get in trouble.
Gio, I never played that game. I was a good boy.
Ow.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Also, there are going to be people in the chat who are like, it's called this, but I'm pretty sure it gets called something different depending on like what 20-mile radius you're in whatever country you live in. So it's probably called something different for everybody.
It's all very illegal, Gio, and very naughty. You're doing it.
Well, anyway, not really the way that Navi wanted that round to go. Anytime where you're investing a decent amount of utility into a round and you still fail to find all that much value from it is really tough, because, for example, with the Viper's Pit, naturally you're probably going to assume that you're not going to have much of an engagement over at B, because that's exactly the space you're trying to deter. Now, if your idea is to force the attackers over towards A and you still have an insufficient defense or insufficient like retake strategy, that is a letdown. That's not what you were looking for. So Navi need to kind of come back from that one and figure out where they stand, especially as they have about half the money that Giants do right now, despite their lead.
Here.
Again, just very slow towards the start. Unfortunately, there's a player in the corner. Fortunately, David P checks it. SSK can get taken down, and look at this. The speed at which they can execute off the back of those picks. I mean, we talk about how they play slow, but they play slow to find these openings. And when they find them, they really do burst on through. But unfortunately, Cloud is there to try and answer back. Hoodie pushing up to try and cut off some of these Navi rotations. Has backup as well. Arch swings, and Hoodie gets the better end of the deal. Through the wall, Hoodie gets another wall bang. Now they can start to move around the side. 2 players are there. Dinks, the most recent to fall. 2 players alive. And it's the full save. They want to save this operator. I mean, fair enough. You want to close it down. Oh dear, Hoodie with a triple. And now flash around the side. Dino not going to get affected by it, but there's the dog. Only the Guardian. Difficult to play up close. And Meadow shuts it down. No save in sight for Navi.
Impossible to save that operator. Yeah, indeed. That was tight one, a difficult one for Navi. And once again, that gap is starting to close. We could end up finding ourselves in a situation reminiscent of what we had last map, where we end at a 6-6, even though it didn't look like it was heading that way in the first few rounds. So, I mean, now Navi have got this kind of awkward buy here. Where
Yeah.
you're really leaning into this Marshall idea. You got one Vandal, so you got like one guy in the middle who's just normal.
Dear, Fatinho nails the first shot over onto Dinks. And SSK now breaching through, looking for some more shots, but it won't happen. SSK will fall. Meadow traded, and Hoodie as well, finding a double over towards the spawn, and now it's just Arch. Looking for anything
Spike planted
into this round in the post plant. Maybe just looking for exits here. I mean, there's not much more you can do in this situation. The ult's stacking up for the Vodafone Giants now. Are we on track for another 6 and 6 half? I mean, it's looking to go that way, but what can Arch do here? He's been left alone on this B site almost every single time, and the times they have gone, they just blitz him out the way super early. I mean, I think he's not even got a kill so far in this game. Looks for the trade, and that'll be the first on the board. But is that the only exit frag? I'm pretty sure it will be. And what more value can you get? You know you're going into the last 2 rounds, so the economy's pretty much decided.
Yeah, I mean, it is a very risky position that they're in right now, because on the side of Navi, sure, you could invest the Empress from SSK, and the way I feel right now is unless they do that and it gets a bunch of kills and just cleans up with Giants, pretty much Giants have everything in their pocket to win this round. Now, whether or not that will actually happen remains to be seen, but you consider the utility that they have here. You know, you look at someone like Fatinho, he's carrying an operator. If he wants to play short range, he can pull out the blades. If he, you know, for whatever reason has that behind him. You got the Hunter's Fury for denial, you have the Seekers for intel, you're very close to the Viper's Pit, which if you can get a plant down, then that is great deterrent from any kind of post plant. Like, I worry for Navi here.
In come the Hunter's Fury, out come the Seekers. Ambi gets the first over towards Dino. And they will be denied the presence on the site. The spike moving up. They don't have the Viper Pit just yet. David P, he misses the first, goes to the second, and then picks up the first back. And the old switcheroo is going to work on out for him. 2 players left standing for Navi. You're worried about it. And that has come to pass. It will bring to bear those worries. And the spike getting planted now needs to be retaken. Cloud with the first shot. Seeker's actually invested here as well. We'll try and block some of the shots from the operator, but David P on the back lines. They'll know about it. There's a Seeker there. So they start to push on forwards with the Empress. There's a lot invested actually coming through. Cloud isn't controlling the angle. And it's a clean 6 and 6 in the last round and a half. We're going evens yet again. Geo, it seems
Switching
like it's
sides.
going to be a tale as old as time, back and forth.
It really could end up being. And the thing that I look at here is now Navi are going to be going on their attack. And for Navi on this map, attack is not their stomping grounds. So even though they had some decent rounds on the defense, it started to wane a little bit towards the end as they became far more reluctant to go into post-plant situations. They wanted to save a lot more. With their attack, especially when we look at the game that they had against the Sen, they just really, really struggled with it. They didn't do a ton of flanking in any way. They were quite one-dimensional in the way that they pushed, and they just struggled. So, of course, they'll have had the chance to VOD review, they'll have had the chance to learn from their mistakes, but will they?
Remains to be
Cage
seen.
triggered.
All the way up through the bridge, through the tube. And the flash is out, trying to take control in a swell over A. Vitinho playing close, actually getting dropped fairly low there. SSK with the first frag over towards Meadow, looks for more and finds the head. Now at range, it's Dino as well to chime on in. And the Vodafone Giants, they're going to have to back off here. There's really not much more to it. Try and rethink, get some exits, get some ult points on board, try and get closer to those Seekers, to that Viper's Pit, which is pretty firmly important for David P to be able to hold on to.
Hawkats! Blinded.
Guiding light, so Hoodie knows that there's someone nearby. Gets SSK. He doesn't quite know where Arch is at the end. So, yeah, Navi, they put the first round of this half on the board. Nothing quite like what we saw on that first half, where basically you had an Empress after, what was it, round 1, round 2? Did not take very long for them to build that up. But, you know, some points on the board. I suppose they're only 3 kills away from an Empress. Or 2 in a round. Or 1 in a round in the defuse.
There's so many ways. There's literally dozens of ways that it could happen.
All of those permutations.
I know. What are we going to do about it? Well, we'll have to wait and see which one is going to happen, or if none of them potentially could happen. Moving out into the mid, Ambi looks to go aggressive here for Vodafone Giants. They've got that Marshall on board. You see it a lot more on Breeze. A lot of open space, a lot of long sightlines. So even on these ecos can be effective. Navi, though, they're not going to slow down. Dino taken down in the meantime on a flank. Actually, David P maybe be able to sneak on through. Spike does get picked up, but finally Navi come back on in and even it. Just that little bit. A little off the top. The spike now being held in the hands of Arch for Navi. Yet to move up to site. They're playing it slow yet again. They have almost the entirety of the site. And yet, they bide their time.
So they don't have the wall up. They're waiting to be able to put that one up because they can't hold all of these different lines of sight. There's finally the one that's going down. The owl drone coming in from Ambi is going to tag that out. Finally, the wall does go up, but not before Arch can actually be killed.
One enemy remaining.
Oh, goodness me. SSK, look at her. Maybe even go down here as well. The Bulldog's good. They pick it up off a body. And it's the Thrifty coming on through for the Vodafone Giants. I'm not sure if it's technically Thrifty, but it certainly wasn't thereby. There we go. I do get confirmed on that one. 7-7. They come back in round number 2. Hoodie playing havoc with that Marshall.
Yeah, that was a pretty good round for them. So, you know, evened out again. I wonder how long this will go on for. Does make you wonder. I mean, Navi... see what it is that they can afford here, because they can't afford a total full buy.
Yeah.
Neither can, well, Vodafone aren't going to. So it's
no, they don't need to. I mean,
yeah.
They picked up quite a lot in the last one. They should be alright. But only the Vandal and the Spectres, really. The Vandal's the only sort of stalwart presence here for Cloud. Over on Navi. Other than that, they're going to have to figure something out.
They're just trying to creep over here. They might get caught out in mid, though. Because you literally have Ambi standing right there. In fact, he backs off and he does get killed as the first blood. So that gives them mid at least. And you can see that they've put a lot into trying to protect from some kind of flank from B, just the way they got a player over at window. They've also got a trap wire over on that side. I'm gonna head back that direction though.
Feels like maybe they were just staking that out, keeping that ground so that they could come back and swing on in, and that's exactly what they're going to start to do. SSK goes for one, but traded off. Hoodie around the corner with a Bulldog, gets a dink, but it's not enough. Cloud down to 10.
30 seconds
And
left.
they will start to get swung on themselves. Meadow able to move in, get one more frag. Cloud is low, so they need to be careful. Shock dart not going to tickle. Goes for the jump peek, gets back to the corner. Now Fatinho able to swap out. Gets the Phantom on board at range as well. No head armor, so the one-shot headshots crucial there. Checking those angles, looking for shoulders, looking for anything that could give it away. Around the corner, he sees a knee, and Arch is going to fall. There's the dart back into the Cloudburst. Excellent use of cover there, but there's not too much time left in the day. Two players left standing, and it's Cloud who's on a big flank. Able to hold it down. Meadow taps it on out, goes for the challenge, will find one, looks for more around the side with the classic, but can't land the shot, and has to fade away. Navi chime back in, 8-7.
Well, all of these rounds on this half so far have felt very close. You know, there hasn't been any real definitive runaways. And I suppose you consider that their weapon situation in that last round was relatively even-ish. Just the fact that it was, you know, it wasn't like a full buy on either side. This is going to be the first time that we're seeing Fatinho bring the operator back in, and, you know, being on the defense particularly, that's going to be incredibly valuable. You can see he's actually positioned over to look directly down towards Cave and Shop. It makes you wonder if he's going to back out, because I was going to say, if he messes this up and he gets caught out there, that operator's just out there for Navi to pick up.
Moving in towards the Aldrone, gets bolted out as well. Out come the Seekers, the Empress is in. This is a lot of ults coming out through for Navi. And they're trying to go through the wall as well. Finds one, and Cloud's there for the backup. Excellent 2K on the crossfire. Team play from Navi.
Spike planted.
There's not much doing there. Only the Sheriff in the hands of Ambi as well for the Vodafone Giants. Navi looking to eke out a lead here. Remember, Vodafone Giants, they have the advantage. Ambi gets himself an operator, so should be pretty chuffed with that.
Yeah, I mean, probably just a hand back to Fatinho next round, but... better than nothing, eh? Navi, yeah, relatively immune here. Got no reason to worry necessarily, other than potentially David P. He could get an exit frag here if Cloud's not careful. Or I suppose any of them, as they're all running up this way, but Cloud's just better.
Well, in this circumstance, certainly winning out that trade. 5 HP. The number of times he's got a... Oh. It's unfortunate, Arch. A little bit of a miscalculation there. Not quite safe. Lose a little bit of money for that one, but should be all right. Look at the disparity in kills here. This is quite interesting. Arch, 3 kills. Cloud, 21. This is a 7 times multiplier between the two of them. They are going to go for attack timeout here. 9 and 7 on the scoreboards. It's very close. I mean, we saw that over on Ascent, that it was going pretty close most of the way. I mean, it looked like a little bit of an opening was to be had for the Vodafone Giants at one point in the second half, but after that, it really did start to tighten up. Maybe we're going to see the same thing here.
Guess we'll find out. I mean, this is certainly a better showing from Navi than what we saw of them when they went against Ascend. They only took 1 attacking round when they were against Ascend, and the only other time that they've played it was against Gambit Esports, where they took 3 of their attacking rounds against them. So, you know, they haven't had the most fruitful history on Breeze. You can tell this has clearly been something that they've been studying and working quite hard on, especially as their game with Ascend was only a couple of days ago. So there has been some work put into this, which is always really encouraging to see, because they're definitely reaping more benefits out of that fact. Now, you're sure you can argue, like, Ascend, they're scary. Maybe a little bit scarier than Giants, a little bit. But there has definitely been an improvement in the way that they're playing. I think sometimes they've looked a little bit fearful or overly cautious in some of the decision making that they've made. But for the most part, you know, they're looking fun. I mean, they're winning.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, you know, they are in the lead, and it's a win is a win. They will take it if they can get it, but they are not going to have an easy time of it. A little bit of a technical timeout between these two teams. And at the moment, in the state of play that we're at the moment, Vodafone Giants seem to have the ult advantage. So in a couple of rounds, should be a little bit stronger here. So they're almost on the verge of being able to come back into this half, I think. I mean, they've already got the lockdown online for retakes especially. That's going to be useful. The Seeker's almost online. And if they have to bum out into another eco round, you've got Fatinho, who's almost got that Blade Storm up as well. Whereas you look at what Navi have, they invested a lot into that last round. I mean, they put in, I think it was the Seekers, the Empress as well. Arch, I believe, invested the Viper's Pit. So not going to have that online. Not a lot to be talked about there. So Vodafone Giants potentially in the next 2-3 rounds going to have the advantage.
Oh, the next 3 rounds? What, when Navi are on round 12?
Well, if they win 1 round, then they'll only be on 11, won't they?
Little bear. You know, when Breeze first came out and we got to try it out, I got really distracted and kind of stopped playing it and just went and hunted all of the bears. And then uploaded on Twitter screenshots of every single bear I found. There were a lot.
Aren't they sloths?
Huh?
Aren't they sloths?
Well, they're all different. Some of them are bears. There's like some penguins and some squirrels somewhere.
True, I've seen a worm or two.
The one you never see when they're observing is the one that's in the sort of geode thing in the cave. In like the blue geode thing, the little radianite thing. There's a little bear
Just because
hidden
it's
in
got
there.
your name on it, all right? Just because it's got your name in it doesn't mean that everyone's going to take the time
It's
to
the best
go and
bear.
investigate. I'm sure. Well, the best headshot for Hoodie on the push. Be able to control SSK. Just trade it out. Cloud finds what he's looking for. Going to get darted out. Oh, David P caught the cross. Out in the open. Fatinho makes short work of that one. Vodafone Giants flagging a little bit for Fatinho. Ever present with this operator. On somewhat of an awkward buy for the rest of the team, though.
No hard feelings.
It's going to hurt. Ambi was in the L drone as well, so no chance of seeing that one. I think sneaks under the purview. Fatinho now with quite a lot to do. Meadow, 8 HP and only a Sheriff. Bush needs to come in. Yeah, I think you do just save this operator. There's a rifle right on the other side of that screen. That's exactly what Meadow was moving forwards to try and get. Using that Viper wall, they'll be able to save a little bit more money into the next.
Makes perfect sense. If I remember correctly, this was not an operator that they bought this round. This was the one that Hoodie picked up, right? And handed back over. After the timeouts, my sense of time has been lost. So I'm trying to think how long it's been since that was the round. I think that was it. So it definitely saves them a lot of money considering the fact they're going to have to buy up those remaining weapons. And you don't want to risk having to spend an extra 4,700 on top of everything else for a round that you're likely to not win.
Turret out.
Arch in round 18 is still on 3 kills and Abby's on 4. It's curious that there's such a disparity across both of these teams in terms of the kill counts, right? And so late into the game, you expect those averages to start to sort of bump a little bit up.
Sure, but when you consider the agents that they're playing, they're not necessarily in roles where you're going to be looking for them to be fragging out. You know, in a lot of cases, especially on the defense, Arch has been on the other side of the map, very similarly to how David P is now. You know, Viper kind of just chills out somewhere for the most part.
I mean, sure. But we've still, you know, we've had 6 rounds now on their attack and still yet to really have too much to say about it. Fatinho moves through. Meadow, though, takes the kill away, and actually the knives don't get reset that time. Puts them away. I'll have to wait for it. Nade. Snipe will not be able to land. Cloud lands the headshot instead. It's traded. The Navi come out on top. 3 versus 3 now. Overall, and quicker on the draw, it's Cloud yet again. Starting to pop off. Seekers now invested after coming online. The spray downs are good, and Cloud will finally fall to the snake bite. Ambi gets another. And now it's 1 versus 2 for Arch, who said he needed to step up a little bit more. Spots the Viper, and will be able to shut down The Viper Pit did get tapped. Oh, and the stop on the defuse there is crucial. Gives the game away. The footsteps, but Arch steps up. And big time as well. Navi up to 11.
There you go, John. You spurred him on. It was actually a really, really good kill as well to be able to bring down the Viper's Pit as they were looking to go for the retake. That
tough love.
Just basically single-handedly gave Navi that round. It would have been much, much harder to contest had that ultimate finished going up. So let's go, Arch. We appreciate you. You know, for me, actually, if we're looking at like where people are in the scoreboard, the one that captures my eye is the fact that Fatino's on a negative KD.
Which is quite interesting. I mean, given that you're playing on the Jet, normally you see them topping the tables. And it feels like he's been having some impact frags as well coming through, but for now, it's just not really being brought to bear. Moving on up towards the A, claiming that ult orb. And again, leaving David P across the map. Wondering when are they going to come B? Don't even have the Viper's Pit to be holding on. They busted that one out in the last round. Cloud just nails two. Looks for a third. Meadow puts an end to it. But SSK still going. And the spike looking to get planted now. Navi, they want the map point here on Breeze. We talked about how both of these teams maybe not super confident on this map, but for now, Navi certainly sitting head and shoulders above. 7 to 11, really dicey scoreline to be sure, and with another kill going over, but Meadow racks up 2 more, 13 HP's not going to be enough though when you swing on that. The Vandal lands the headshot, and it wouldn't even mattered if you had full. 7 to 12.
Match point.
All right. Hey, John. This might be the first 3-map best of 3 that we get to cast in the playoffs.
Ooh.
Ooh.
That's exciting.
Last player standing.
I mean, it is exciting, especially because this was very much the map that coming into it, I thought, Navi really have a disadvantage here. And actually, that doesn't seem to be the case. And we've mentioned a couple of times Navi not having a real storied history on this map. But Giants haven't played it a ton either, and the last couple of times that they have, they also lost. So there's a weakness for both of them. Right now, seemingly more so for Giants, who can't seem to pull it back while they're on the defense.
And when you consider as well the change in agents, right? You've got Meadow moving over to the Killjoy instead of playing on that Cypher. You have to wonder if they're going to be double thinking. They're going to be thinking twice about doing that again in the future. I mean, I haven't really seen the lockdown have too much of an effect. I mean, sure, the Killjoy turrets have been decent in circumstances, but they've been dealt with so many times.
My ult's not ready. My ult's not ready.
It certainly does make you wonder. Oh, they're going to start making their initiation here onto B, led by the Hawks, but it's David P to get that opening kill as he backs off into the site.
I know exactly where.
Taken on down, 2 players already falling. Meadow doing so much work, trying to keep this one going. I mean, I said maybe the Killjoy isn't the best pick, but the guy playing it is pretty good as well. You have to be worried. 2 players now standing for Navi, trying to boot their way up to the B site, but Dinks moving through. 3 bullets left in the magazine, so need to land those headshots. Only 13 seconds. Slow for Navi as ever, but
10
with
seconds
just 12
left.
seconds left, they will be starting to go for it. A lovely little headshot there coming through. Dino finds another, and now it's just Fatino. Has a Vandal himself, trying to move around the side. I think they know he's onto site, and now into a 1 versus 1. Fatino low, and the spray goes the way of Dinks to bring